I first started thinking about freestyling El Cap in probably 2008, 2009, and then the first several years it was just this abstract dream, and each time I looked at the wall, it would fill me with fear. And then I had a couple of distinct experiences on El Cap where I was like, oh, I could actually imagine being up here ropeless. I had to sort of accept the dream, or sort of like embrace the vision of it before I could get into the nitty-gritty.
EP poured the first handhold in 1985. Here we are 30 years later. Chances are if you climbed inside, you've climbed on an EP hold.
to the USA Climbing 2018 Collegiate National Championships here at Momentum Climbing in Katy, Texas. We are into the first climbers of the sport climbing segment of this weekend. It is Collegiate Nationals, therefore these climbers are competing in all, or have the chance to compete in sport, speed, and bouldering. If they qualify, there were 525 competitors this weekend, over 94 collegiate teams across the United States, and these are your top 25 competitors for the sport climbing final. Those first climbers that we saw out were Morgan Pearson of Iowa State University. She's untying right there, as you can see on the screen. And Clint Stepp of the University of Texas. Both of these climbers are the first ones on this wall. First ones to test out this route. We did do a 5-minute preview where the competitors had an opportunity to suss out beta, figure out their sequence for clips. Very important aspect as you start to pump out and put your blinders on and kind of forget what you're doing. Kind of have the sequence in head. We have 25 males competing in this that have qualified. There is a 26th over on the female side due to a tie in the 25th position between Morgan Pearson and Kaylee Linfers of Metropolitan State University. Metropolitan State University is out of Colorado. So we are going to run these competitors one after another. There is no time limit on the wall. As they fall, we're going to put the next one on. So I'll do my best to keep up with names as we go through all of these competitors. Forgive me if I miss one or two, but they've got bib numbers on, so it shouldn't be too terrible. The route setters worked hard this week getting these climbs up. I do want to give a quick shout out to those route setters. We've got intern Eric Anderson, apprentices Randy Castellan, Joe Marciano, Mike Rosen, and then the assistants Jeremy Ho, Keegan Minnock, Alex Borscht, Phil Simons, Cody Grodsky, and the chief route setter John Unks. They did a fantastic job this weekend. These routes look fantastic, and I'm excited for the bouldering portion this evening at 8 p.m. Central Time at Momentum Silver Street in downtown Houston. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that on the separate live stream. Here we've got Kaylee Linfers of Metropolitan State University. Kaylee's bib number 106 there. If you guys are unfamiliar with the sport climbing format, the way this works is that they get a score point for every pointed hold as they climb up. There will be a full score, 2 for the start hold, 1 for every hold after that, except for matching holds. The chief route setter and judge agree on those. There's a route map that delineates that. And then the climbers are awarded decimal points. Positive movement is 0.3, usable surface 0.5, and the number of quick draws clipped is 0.01. So that helps to separate the field as they move up. Deciding to clip a quick draw down low rather than up high where you might fall sometimes can help because it'll get you that 0.01. Jumping at a hold and get you that positive movement sometimes. So, you know, these competitors are going to try and do everything that they can to gain every point that they can, move their way up the ranks, and hopefully come out in the top 5 is what they're shooting for, because the top 5 have potential this year to go to the world competitions. Top 5 of each gender, of each discipline, going on to the World University Championships in Bratislava, Slovakia, June 20th and 23rd of 2018. It happens every other year, and it is happening this year, and all these competitors are very excited for the opportunity to go compete internationally. As we can see here on the screen, you got Kaylee Linfers gaining control of that block there. Not sure what he was just tossing out into the crowd. It briefly looked like a bagel. I just caught that. This is Matthew Irwin, University of Utah. If you can't tell, those blue holds, they're cheetah holds. They are dual textured, so the outside of those Wacos, those big volcano looking things, are a smooth, slippery texture, so their thumbs aren't doing them much help right now, and if you stand on the outside, you're risking foot slipping. So are the black holds there by flat holds. The textured part that you can see the chalk on, that's textured. On the other side, it is slippery. That gives route setters a lot more control over foot usage. Ooh, we have a fall on the ladies' route there. That is Kaylee Linfers, and a fall on the men's route from Matthew Irwin. Both of them making it about 2/3 of the way up the route. These routes tend to get progressively more difficult. That's the idea. You want to separate out the field so that the strongest, most well-rounded climber is going to make it all the way up to the top, and your least well-rounded climber will be the 25th, 26th person falling a little bit lower. So the idea is to separate these climbers along the way as the route gets harder and harder. So as we move our way through the lineup, we're going to see climbers hopefully get higher and higher up this wall. Tying in there for the University of Utah, we have Aiden Goddard qualifying in 23rd place. I'm sorry, that's still going to be our last climber, also from the University of Utah, Matthew Irwin. Last year, the University of Utah climbing team came out on top in all 3 disciplines, actually. They dominated the scene. University of Utah climbing team coming out with a score of 172 in the sport climbing field over Colorado State University with 142. Those scores are calculated based on how the team did overall. And this year, they're introducing something new. It's going to be the individual discipline team championships. And the way that's going to work is that the individual discipline team rankings will be calculated by adding the ranking points of the 3 highest ranked individual team members per gender. So they'll be taking the top 3 climbers who scored the highest in bouldering of male and female and tallying those up to create an individual discipline score for the teams for bouldering, speed, and sport, along with an overall team score as well. So again, teams from last year that won, University of Utah climbing team came out on top overall. Colorado State University in 2nd and Stanford in 3rd. All 3 of those teams are the teams you want to watch throughout this climbing competition. They are incredible. They're climbers, a lot of them coming up from the youth circuit, as we're seeing with these climbers as they age out of the youth circuit. It's not just about going to open anymore. Now that we have this collegiate climbing series and it's getting more and more serious, we're seeing the youth climbers get very serious about competing in the collegiate circuit. All right, on the right-hand side of your screen there, you're looking at Aiden Goddard of the University of Utah. And on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got Emily Ellison of St. Edward's climbing team out of New Orleans, Louisiana. The fun part about the collegiate climbing series is that it's the closest climbing series that we have out of youth, open, and collegiate that is going to get us into the realm of understanding of the Olympic format that we're going to see in 2020, because this format is the only time that you're going to see these competitors in one weekend compete, have the opportunity to compete in bouldering, sport, and speed, which is how the format in the 2020 Olympics will be working. And a lot of athletes specialize. They mainly focus just on bouldering, and they do really well in bouldering, and then kind of midfield or whatever in sport don't end up doing speed. These competitors have the opportunity to really get themselves well-rounded and prepared for the 2020 Olympics. This is the contingent of climbers, along with some of our youth climbers, that have the opportunity to make it into the 2020 Olympics. And so it's really interesting to see how this format works over the weekend with these competitors having the opportunity to compete in all 3 disciplines. You can see Aiden here working his way through these dual textured slopers, able to get that clip. Again, that clip is worth 0.01, so if he had fallen before that, he would have not gained those decimal places. Falling, potentially getting usable surface on that second pocket. This is Emily Ellison out of St. Edward's climbing team, making her way through some very interesting blocks. I believe those are new holds out of Sowell. finding a very cool knee bar rest. We do not have a time limit on this wall. If she can find a rest that she wants to sit on and gain some energy back, shake out those hands, kind of beat off some of that forearm pump, gain back some energy, she can sit there as long as she wants. We did see Aiden Goddard fall off. We are going to be running this as one climber falls, the next climber goes on. Matthew Schwartz will be stepping up next from the University of Utah. And then we've got Emily Ellison off the wall out of that knee bar. Thankfully, she did get that clip. That's going to give her that .01 extra over any competitor who was not able to get that from the knee bar. Those climbers are going to get untied, get tied back in. If you guys have any questions or any comments, please go over to USA Climbing's Twitter. That is at USA Climbing. Feel free to send us any questions or comments. We'll do our best to field them as the action carries on in our downtime. Also, if you guys want to follow along with the live results, go to usaclimbing.org and you can click over to the results page. I recommend going to the homepage, scroll over the climb icon at the top. You're going to get a drop-down menu on the left side. There's some red bars. You can click on results. And in event, just go ahead and type in national. It'll bring up all the national competitions throughout the year, but you can click on collegiate, click on sport. Sounds like a lot, but it's really fun. You get to watch the scores as they come in, see how everybody's placing. It's hard, especially in sport, because it is a sequential scoring program, to kind of know how everybody's doing, how those decimal places are really factoring into the final score. So clicking over to the live scoring, you'll be able to have an idea as to where these competitors are falling and how they're doing and what the upcoming competitors need to do in order to podium. If you guys missed the speed climbing competition earlier on this evening or this morning here at Momentum Katy, it will be up on the YouTube page later on when they get it uploaded. It was amazing with some scathing runs. We had some sub 7-second runs near the end there. All right, on the left-hand side from the Colorado School of Mines getting started, that is Paige Bowling. If you guys haven't been following along with collegiate climbing throughout the years, it has grown immensely. I mean, we're talking about 525 competitors just here at this finals, over 94 teams throughout the United States. I remember just a couple of years ago, I was at the regional for the Northwest Division, or Northern California Division, and you know, it was more of a fun school sport that you could do. It was kind of something, you know, club, extracurricular, and just something that people did for fun. And as these youth climbers are kind of aging out and moving into the collegiate realm, they're still serious about climbing, and they like doing it throughout the year. They're maybe not able to make it to all of the open competitions throughout the United States, but they love competing. And so you're seeing these youth competitors getting to college age, going to college, moving around the United States, which kind of mixes things up too as to where they go. And you know, these teams are just growing, getting more competitive, and you can see that throughout the sport. There's still a huge diversity amongst difficulty with sport and bouldering. I was talking to one of the route setters. They were saying that when they're setting for the red point round, the qualifying round for sport climbing, they had to set from 5.8 all the way up to 5.13 potentially. And that's a huge spread to have to do for a red point round in a competition like this. But, you know, this is definitely a new beast as it grows, and the climbing community is kind of adapting year to year as to how this sport is going along. On the right side there, we've got Matthew Schwartz, University of Utah, reaching up to those slopers. We saw his teammate Aiden Goddard get up here just before. He did some different beta, moving through both of those slopers in double gas dome fashion, whereas Matthew here was able to stay low and skip that one. This is where Aiden Goddard fell coming into the second pocket. He got usable surface, putting Matthew Schwartz on top. Matthew Schwartz eyeballing those next holds. It gets significantly steeper right here in this section. Trying to find a way to stabilize himself, get that extra decimal place with that clip. Matthew Schwartz looking good on the wall right now. On the left side, making her way through these blocks, we've got Paige Bowling of the Colorado School of Mines. Paige eyeballing that clip above her. Ooh, all right. And that is Matthew Schwartz of the University of Utah, getting high points, I believe, on this route so far. Looking good and really setting the standard for the climbers coming in after him. Paige looking to gain a little bit back here. Just before her, we saw Emily Ellison able to get a knee bar and shake out. She wasn't able to move too far past that, unfortunately. She seemed pretty tired, but that knee bar is an excellent opportunity for those climbers to be able to shake out, gain back some energy, kind of de-pump on the route. I love the tenacity of these climbers, getting to a point where they are getting tired, don't know if they can get to the next hole, and look at her face. She is just struggling right now, trying to get any movement. Again, just even moving to a hold, getting that positive movement is going to be able to get you 0.3 points. If she's able to gain usable surface, that's 0.5 points, and every decimal place could be the difference between making that, making that world team or making podium even. So everything these climbers can do in this sequential sport climbing format is 100% worth the effort. None of these climbers are going to give up before their body says so. So next up for the men's sport climbing final here, we have Jeremy DeBear. Sorry if I'm butchering your last name there, Jeremy. He's out of University of Central Florida. He's our 21st male competitor. Down there rocking that Power Company team sweatshirt. That's going to be our live MC, Mr. Chris Hampton himself. Chris Hampton runs the Power Company podcast. My counterpart in the podcast world. If you guys haven't listened to it, it's fantastic. A little plug for this clip. It's looking cool and collected, very concentrated. One thing I like about these routes coming from a route background to not only to worry about function, we need it progressively more difficult as it goes along to knock out those lower competitors early on. They can't have any bottlenecks, but we've also got this form versus function on the wall where they're looking at aesthetics as well. And while some people scoff at aesthetics being an aspect of route setting, for the viewers it's fantastic. This blue and black climb using all of these cheetah Wacos and the flat hold dual tech slopers looks really great, and along with the yellow and black holds over on the women's route, oil blocks, two holds, and then like grips and flat holds, and using these to get a nice climb on the wall that the function separating and coming out with the most well-rounded, strongest climber at the top of this climb with any luck. Again, this is Jeremy DeBear from University of Central Florida. It looks like he's going to kind of maybe take that path that we saw Aiden Goddard take, touching that sloper up there. Matthew Schwartz was able to move down to the lower slope over to the left and then up in it. Again, it kind of speaks to these climbers to figure out their easiest path up this wall. Here on the or comments over, we'll do our absolute best to field those questions and comments. Definitely got a little higher than Aiden got into climb. Click on results. 3-wave round. It does get a little bit more powerful as that wall gets steep. They're about halfway up the climb right there. So they're starting to pump. You know, we want to see a separation throughout as much of the field as we can. Definitely in the top 3. That is a mistake on the route setter's behalf. It just which these competitors out, which, you know, you could argue might help in these opening moves, an understanding of what the holds on the rest of the route look like. These cheat can only help them so far if you've never touched these holds in your life. Again, these competitors are fighting for podium. They're also fighting for their team. We have the Team Individual Discipline Awards going on for the first time this year. And for the first time in 2 years, these competitors have the opportunity to go to Slovakia for the World University Championships. USA Climbing is helping the top 5 competitors from each gender and each discipline go and compete in these World Games. They only happen, the University Games only happen every other year. The U.S. has sent a team. This will be the second year they've sent a team. Right here, it looks like we've got Mimi on the high point of women's final route. Moving through these fantastic, double knee bar scum squeeze there on that so-ill block. Able to gain that clip, putting her at the high point for the women. You can follow the live scores at usaclimbing.org in the results section. And stepping into the booth here, I have one of the route setters of these fine routes, Cody Grotzky. He's set for many of these competitions, including Open Nationals in Birmingham, Alabama. Cody, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Great. We just saw Miriam Nissan fall off of this wall. She was from Denver, Colorado, and as she gets tied in, let's take a second to talk about these routes. What were you guys thinking about as you were setting these?
Well, Collegiate's a really diverse event. It's grown a lot over the past few years. We have a really wide range of climbers coming in from all over the country. Some of these folks, especially the top tier competitors, have competed at Open Nationals, whether it's boulder, sport, and speed. But then we also have folks who are coming in kind of in the 25th and 20th place, and you know, still really strong climbers, really psyched athletes all the way through. We want to make sure that everyone has a good time, fair competition, and you put on a show.
Yeah, you don't want to shut anybody down too early. You know, it's about spectating and giving. I mean, they came all the way out here from across the country as well. Like, you want to make sure to give everybody a show. What do you think the biggest issue is? Is it dealing with competitors you don't know, their abilities? What's the, you know, what do you guys think about when you're getting these routes set up?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. There's a lot of sleepers, right? There's like some of these folks coming in, and you don't really, maybe they don't compete on the circuit, but they're really strong rock climbers, and you know, you're sitting through qualifiers, and you say, oh, I think so and so will do well here or do well here, and then all of a sudden you have this folks coming through and pulling real hard, and sometimes that can be a surprise. And then for finals, you know, we have to make adjustments accordingly.
So you guys are all set up over at Momentum Silver Street for the bouldering finals this evening. What are you expecting there?
It's a great time every year. Really, really psyched crowd. Everyone shows up. Ends up being an absolute blast. Let's step aside here real quick and take a look at men's final. Yeah,
Harold Ainsworth from CU Boulder getting up near the high point. This is kind of where we've seen some guys have some trouble.
He looks pretty stressed here.
Seeing his feet cut, you know, that's a sign that he's tiring out a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that body tension.
As a route setter, I know, like, you know, you worry a little bit about, Harold Ainsworth touching every hold that he can, trying to get that positive movement, usable surface, even on the lower hold, just in case it's scored. They don't know where the scores are necessarily, so in a moment like that where he knows he's falling, he's going to try and get usable surface on whatever he can. As a route setter, you guys obviously try and avoid any bottleneck scenarios. Obviously, we're still only through our 19th climber here in the men's, and over here on the left we've got Noelle Perdoni from Adams State College. She's our 17th. But, you know, do you see this as being an issue for you guys, or do you think that the route's pretty well spread in difficulty?
No, we try our best, of course, to you know, make everything, you know, nice and progressive. Bottlenecking, you know, happens all the time in route setting, whether it's, you know, commercial boulders or commercial routes and high-end competitions. It's just part of the game. But we do our best. You know, put on a good show. We don't want, you know, a bunch of climbers getting stomped on one section. You know, it's all about the climber having the best climber for the day being able to show up and put on a good show.
Here's our first view of the men's final round scores. Again, you can follow them online, but otherwise we've got Jeremy DeBear in first place, Matthew Schwartz in second, Aiden Goddard in third, Matthew Irwin in fourth, and then the women's here, Mimi getting high point, Morgan Pearson in second. This girl here from Adams State College, Noelle Prandoni. So, Cody, tell me, have you set for and or been a part of these collegiate competitions in the past, whether it be regional or national?
Yeah, this will be my 4th year setting for collegiate nationals. The first 3 years were in San Diego, California, out at Mesa Rim. Awesome gym, awesome facility. This year's the first year we're out here in Momentum and in Houston at both of their facilities. Really, really cool to see how far it's come over the past few years. It's no longer just an event where, you know, some club teams show up. I mean, there are some real life competitors here who, like I said earlier, show up to open nationals, whether it's boulder, sport, and speed. And I think we saw, you know, sub 7 times going on speed earlier. That's really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys did miss that speed segment, it will be available on the YouTube page eventually. Do check it out. It's really impressive to see these collegiate climbers come out and do so well. Noelle Perdoni on the left-hand side from Adams College, finally gaining that block. She struggled there for a moment. That's going to burn her out a little bit. She's going to try and gain back some energy. And then on the right-hand side here for men's one, this is one of our first views of Kepler Warbeck. He's from Colorado State University out of Fort Collins. This was a segment that gave some of the competitors a little bit of issue. There's definitely an interesting sequence there. How pumpy would you say this route is? Is it more about technical climbing, smart climbing, or is it about pulling down hard?
The men's route is honestly, it's a big combination of all of those things. You're getting very tired right off the ground. There's not a lot of really restful positions. I mean, there are spots where you can kind of like catch a quick shake and, you know, maybe get a little chalk as we see in here, but you're not recovering all that well, and so it stays on you, and as the route builds, you know, that just gets more and more so. And definitely, if you see a lot of these, you know, cheetah and flat hold, these dual text holds, they're very precise. I don't know how well you can see on the live stream, but those shiny sections there, those are really, really, really slick, and especially on volumes, it's extremely hard to stand on them. And the white portions are actually usable surfaces. So you'd be very precise while you're tired. Intricate sequences. You know, pocket climbing can be a lot of route reading involved, and when you're redlining at the top of the wall there, that can be a lot to manage.
All right, so Noelle Prandoni fell down just below that block section where it starts to get steep again, and then we've got Kepler Warbeck from Colorado State University off a little lower than he probably would have liked. Cody, are you worried about that middle section on the women's finals climb where those blocks start to get a little steep, or do you predict that we're going to see some of those stronger climbers, more experienced climbers cruise through that section?
I think that's exactly what we're going to see. We're coming up here on a really strong field, you know, just off the top of, starting from the climbers coming up here, we have, you know, Zoe Steinberg and Lily Canavan, Grace McKean and Bimini Horseman, all these folks, never mind the top, you know, 5-6 competitors, are very well seasoned USAC athletes on, you know, youth circuit and otherwise. I don't think they'll have much of a problem at all getting through that section and approaching on the head wall.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, you know, most climbers specialize in a specific discipline. A lot of these youth climbers, they climb throughout the season. They do bouldering, they do sport climbing, they do speed climbing, and then with the Olympics coming up, as I've talked about a little bit here, you know, we're seeing these climbers that are a little bit more all around and a little bit more wide-ranging. I mean, we've got 6 women and 8 men who have qualified for multiple final events in this final competition here at the Collegiate Nationals. So it's just really cool to see these climbers come up from youth categories and coming into this event.
Absolutely, very experienced field. Probably, especially for the female lineup here, the most experienced field I've seen in Collegiate Nationals thus far.
Excellent. Well, Cody, we are super excited for this competition and all the route setting you guys did. I'm super excited for the bouldering this evening. Thanks so much for talking to us, and good luck in the bouldering event and the rest of this.
Thanks so much, Sean. If I could just say one thing, too, I just want to have a nice thank you to everyone who helped put this event on, the host facility, Momentum, also all the volunteers. Absolutely could not do this without you guys. Everyone who spent hours and hours of time. And of course, all the sponsors for the events. Couldn't do this without you. It really helps us put on a successful show and makes this event grow each and every year. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks.
All right, so on the left-hand side there, we've got Molly Olmos of the United States Air Force Academy. On the right-hand side, Andrew Izzo of Temple Climbing Club. Andrew qualified in the 17th position. That's letting us know that we're just under the top 10, or the first 10 climbers there. Molly Olmos also 17th, so running neck and neck with the competitors right here. Andrew Izzo seems to be cruising through this section. This is a spot that gave a lot of the competitors an issue. They don't know whether to match this hold and kind of move through, cross under, but it doesn't seem to give Andrew any issue there. He knew exactly what to do. Over on the left-hand side, Molly Olmos gaining a rest. That seems to be the spot that most of these competitors look ahead. They know it's going to get a little bit harder as soon as you hit that steep section. They're trying to gain back everything they can here before they get in a pickle where they can't find some resting positions. Again, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. @USA Climbing is the handle. You can send questions, comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Do our best to field those as we go along. Andrew Izzo really powering through that move. He's going to try and cross here. We've seen 3 different sets of beta throughout this section, and that one actually to me seemed like it was the most straining. Again, it comes down to individual strengths and weaknesses. Over on the left, Molly's got that knee bar that one of the climbers was able to get earlier on today. That helps them gain that 0.01 for clipping ahead of climbers who may not have been able to get that. Andrew Izzo from Temple Climbing Club in Pennsylvania off the wall. Again, the cool part about this whole climbing competition is that while they're climbing individually, this is one of the first climbing competitions that, or first kind of climbing competitions that we see the team aspect come in. The collegiates is really where these competitors train with each other, and they've built this team together, and they've come from different parts of the United States a lot of times, and this is kind of where they're finding their new home, their new group of people, and this is where they've kind of grown up into these adults and moving on into the more adult field of climbing outside of youth competitors. And so they kind of grow this family, and you can definitely hear it as these competitors are screaming, or as these spectators and competitors are screaming for their competitors that are on the wall. That'll be it for Molly Olmos. Again, this section of the wall giving these females a bit of a tough challenge, but fortunately enough, we're still not even halfway through this full lineup, and we're going to see some young guns, some strong muscles come out and hopefully crush through that section. All right, over on the wall on the right-hand side, we've got Thomas Pitzel from University of Maryland. He is one of the 8 men who competed in speed earlier on today, or one of the 8 who's qualified for multiple disciplines throughout this weekend. He did qualify in speed, did very well. Thomas is one of the competitors that we talked about coming up from the youth circuit. Again, a couple years ago, you just kind of had climbing clubs from colleges and teams that just did it for fun. Now we're actually seeing universities giving money to these teams, paying for the travel, paying for the memberships of some of these competitors. I believe there's even universities that are offering scholarships for the climbing teams nowadays. So we're seeing the sport grow and grow and grow, especially in the collegiate level, and it's making it all the more worth it for these competitors to join their collegiate climbing teams and really put forth the effort to do well. And even in the youth, if climbing teams are going to be offering scholarships to these competitors, doing well in the youth circuit is going to speak loudly to those universities looking for these competitors. So Thomas Pitzel qualifying in 13th, looking really comfortable right now, even taking time to cut his feet. Making double clips from that position. That's going to, again, gain him those extra points that he may not have gotten if he had slipped off before getting the clip. Sport climbing is about endurance. It's got power and technique in it, but it's also about smarts, you know, knowing when to climb past something to get to climb past a clip to get to a more favorable spot. Obviously, there are rules about climbing too far past a clip. It cannot go below the lowest part of your body. This is where we've seen a lot of these competitors have some trouble. Thomas Pitzel off. Again, trying to gain any movement, usable surface, get anything that he can to get those extra points. And again, since we've seen a bottleneck, he may not know this because he was an ISO, but since we've seen a bottleneck there, that usable surface, that movement, those little points are going to help the competitors who do move past that instead of the ones that didn't. Here we have Julia Shape. Sorry, Julia, if I'm butchering your name. She's out of Stanford University. Stanford's one of the teams to watch this season as they got 3rd last year, and they have a fantastic group of competitors. Jenna Wong, Katie Lamb. Yeah, just a fantastic group of competitors, really strong contingent. And it's one of those universities that's really fostering a collegiate climbing team seriously, not just as a club. I'm able to talk with a lot of the competitors who climb for Stanford, and they just talk about, you know, growing their team and being the best. And we're going to see if they can do that this year, coming up from 3rd place overall last year. Julia is one of the first competitors getting these high points, and you can hear the crowd go crazy. As predicted by Cody, as we move into these upper competitors, we're going to see some of these stronger girls come out. I believe that was high point for Julia Shape from Stanford University, putting her on top. Again, if you want to follow along with the live results, you can go to usaclimbing.org. Scroll over the climb drop-down menu on the left. There's results, and just type in Nationals. You'll be able to find it. 2018 Collegiate Nationals in Katy, Texas for sport climbing. There's a look at the men's final round. We still have Jeremy DeBear in first place. Thomas Pitzel just getting tied for first, actually. That, again, comes down to probably movement or usable surface. And here in the women's, Mimi still holding down for first, Morgan Pearson in second, Kaylee Linford's in third, Emily Ellison in fourth. And if you want to know more, check out the USA Climbing website. Coming up next for the ladies is Andrea Zerbe of CU Boulder. She's going to be getting tied in, but while she does, Over here on the right-hand side of the screen on the men's route, we have Noah Caro from Eastern Florida State College out of Florida. These competitors did get a 5-minute preview early on, so they have an idea of what the route looks like. But kind of like I said, you know, you may not know all of these holds, especially because cheetah, flat hold, those holds are newer to the United States market. And then over on the left side, those blocks from Sowell, those are newer as well. You might not see those in climbing gyms unless you are one of the climbing gyms that has a fantastic hold budget. So, yeah, you know, these climbers, they have an idea of what to do, but sometimes they're having to problem solve on the wall as they're going along. They get to a hold and realize it's not as good as what they wanted. They have to figure out, problem solve on the wall. Again, this is one of those sections. We saw 3 different types of beta. Here we're going to see him move to that left one, try and stand straight up. We've seen competitors do that before. It comes down to body style, it comes down to height, comes down to strength, smarts. This is about where all these men have been able to, or been starting to get tired. We've seen some competitors fall here. A couple of them made it on past through this section. The top 2 have gotten stumped at this second Waco just above where Noah Caro is currently. So we'll see if Noah can manage to make it through this section. He's going to do his absolute best, but it looks like he's getting tired. And again, the outside of those blue holds are super slick. You can see him trying to stand in the pocket, because if he tries to stand on top of that hold, he's not going to be able to do it. Trying to gain that .01 point score for that clip and wasn't able to make it happen. Here we have Andrea Zerbe from CU Boulder. Again, finding that fantastic little rest there, able to gain back a little bit. A lot of the females have been identifying that spot just before the head wall here where it gets steep. They have to start using all of that hand strength, avoid the forearm pump. Again, our previous climber, Andrea Shape from Stanford University, has the high point on this climb. This section tended to kind of stifle the ladies thus far, but as we move through this lineup, we're going to see some stronger and more experienced climbers hopefully being able to cruise past this section. The ideal route in the route setter in the judge's eyes is going to see the final climber make it to the top of this route. And it's really hard to be able to do that, to predict how everybody's feeling, who's, you know, how strong, if they competed in speed and all the other factors that go in. But, you know, ideally we would see at least one climber make it to the very top of this route. Whew, Andrea with a foot stab, able to save that one. Andrew's looking good, straightening that arm out. Able to make that clip. This is the section that could define where she lands in the standings. And Andrea off the wall. Next up will be Jennifer Lenahan from Rutgers University. While she gets tied in, we're going to take a look over here at Nathan Withy from Orange Coast, California, with his stylish headband. Let me tell you, in the commentator's booth, we appreciate any style that we can get. Definitely more entertaining, gives me something to chat about. Nathan moved through that section that's given some competitors some issues before. You can probably hear the spectators in the background chanting. It's fun to see the team aspect and all of these competitors out here yelling for their team. Here Nathan's going to go with the double Gaston method. Again, we've seen 3 different methods here, and that one looks really strong. Got his feet high early, bringing his center of balance up into that. And that's one thing that could really define how this next section goes, because as this wall gets steeper, that's where we've seen everybody have a little bit of trouble through this section. Although Nathan Withy is looking, well, was looking really comfortable for a moment. Got to get this clip. Nathan taking time to pump up the crowd, showing everybody that he's looking good. If he can get past this to the next hold, we may see another high point. Utilizing his toe in that super slippery pocket. Come on, Nathan. So there we see his hand touch the usable surface. It's after his foot popped, and we'll leave that to the judge to decide. And if that's the case, that may be a 3-way tie for first. On the women's route, Jennifer Lenahan from Rutgers University. Making the most of that rest there. Jennifer's looking pretty calm and collected thus far. She's just approaching the spot that is giving most of the female competitors a little bit of trouble here. See how she does. Nice, she's able to stick that blocked hold. Again, they put that blocker on there to make it a little more precise. That yellow hold just over the one she's holding on to. It makes it a little more precise. Makes it so they don't necessarily want to jump for that hold. Jennifer Lenahan here making way. Though that is not the highest point, that is a high point for the females right now. She's going to fall somewhere in the top 5 most likely. There you got a quick look. The top 2 competitors, Jeremy DeBear and Thomas Pitzel, they both got to the same spot that we saw the last competitor get to, though it depends if he got usable surface before he fell and how the judge is going to rate that one. Over here on the right-hand side for the men, we have Amin Hossein from CU Boulder. He seems to be cruising handily through these moves. He does not look like he's getting tired, and he's definitely looking very confident on the wall. Mixing up his beta there, most of the competitors crossed into that next hold as an undercling and able to use the textured inside of that pocket Waco. He was trying to use the top of it. Unfortunately, it's super slippery, as we talked about before. It's got a little bit of dual texture, and he was trying to skip all the way to the next sloper, which unfortunately a risky move like that can cost you the competition. Over here on the left, we have the number 1 bib number competitor, Mia Alfonso from University of North Texas. She is our 15th qualifier coming out of the qualifying round. We're just a couple competitors under halfway here. Again, these are the top 25 competitors out of 525 that made it out for this weekend. They could, as I said before, compete in or try to qualify and compete in any of the three disciplines, bouldering, sport, or speed. And then today we saw the top 26 competitors of each gender compete in speed early on this morning. We've got the top 25 men and top 26 women due to a tie here competing in sport, and then we'll see the top 25 from both competing at bouldering tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time at Momentum Silver Street in downtown Houston, Texas. So if you guys are around, please take time to watch it tonight. The bouldering event should be super fun. Cody has assured me that it's going to be a fantastic event, putting him on the spot. There is no time limit on this wall for this round, so that if these competitors can find a nice spot to kind of lock their knee into or, you know, rest their butt on, they could potentially sit there as long as they want and gain some extra effort back. So it's fun to see these competitors, you know, that part of the goal route setting too is not allow them any of those restful positions. You've got to keep them on their hands the entire time. As you can see on the left, we've got Mia trying to find that knee there. She's able to shake out that right hand a little bit. This is where it starts to get steep, and she knows it's going to get difficult from here on out. We've only seen a couple girls get up to this point. Section gets a little shouldery. On the right-hand side there, from Oklahoma State University, we've got Gentry Cole, who also competed in the speed competition early on today. Again, 6 women and 8 men qualified for multiple disciplines in this event, which is significant because in the open and youth competitions, we don't see competitors having to compete in multiple disciplines at the same time. They're able to take time to train for specific disciplines throughout the season. Looks like we might be seeing a high point over on the left-hand side there with Mia Alfonso from University of North Texas. This is about where the last high point was, although I'm not sure. That may be it right there. It has potential to put Mia Alfonso into first place. Now on the right-hand side, we've got Gentry Cole getting towards that high point on men's. We are seeing Mia Alfonso trying to struggle with her feet first motion here on that big E-grips jug. So again, as these climbers are climbing up the wall, they may get tired, but you know, just because they can't get to the next hold isn't the end of everything. Getting positive movement, which can be a static movement with the hand or full movement with the body, gets 0.3 points added onto their score, and if they can touch the usable surface of the next hold, that's 0.5. In the men's final round here, we do see that Nathan Withy was able to get usable surface on that, putting him in a 3-way tie for first with Jeremy DeBear and Thomas Pitzel. Again, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a bottleneck, but we've got a lot of competitors ahead, and in theory, we have some of the strongest and most well-rounded competitors still to come. There are currently, for the 2017-2018 season, 13 different regions where the schools can compete. They compete in local competitions and then also a regional competition which qualifies them to come out here to nationals. If you are a college goer, a university student, you do qualify to compete in those. You just need to go to the USAC website and figure out how to register for next season. Again, you can compete as an individual if your school doesn't have a team. But if you'd like to start one, USA Climbing has a really interesting pamphlet on their PDF on their website that explains how to go through the channels of your university and start a team. And it's a great way for you to help grow the climbing community and also have a team to train with and compete with and travel with. And a lot of these universities nowadays are offering money to the clubs and schools for the memberships, for travel, for a lot of the costs that are incurred throughout the climbing season. And then as this grows, we've been seeing universities even offer scholarships for these climbing clubs. So, you know, if you're interested, go to the USAC website at usac.org, click on the Collegiate button, and see all the information about competing for next season. All right, over here on the left-hand side, Zoe Steinberg from Temple Climbing Club, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Zoe is a youth competitor as well, very well known for her abilities throughout the youth circuit. And then on the right, we have Dom Speranza from the Air Force Institute of Technology. I believe Dom was in the speed climbing segment this morning as well. And Zoe's kind of eyeing up those blocks up ahead, knowing that she's got some steep terrain ahead of her. You can see Dom trying to figure out the beta there. As I said, we've seen at least 3 different ways to make their way through that section, and it almost gave Dom a run for his money, but he figured it out, and now he's cruising up through this head wall up to where we're seeing the high point. He's a little bit taller, which might offer him some advantage on that big move past the blue hold. Though it still all depends on how tired he is, if he can figure out his body position, and really if he can make this clip right now. Dom touching that hold for the usable surface if it is scored. They do not know what holds are scored, so you'll sometimes see them reaching for holds that they may not be able to use just in case. As we've seen the usable surface being used on that one. Ooh. So that'll most likely be positive movement for Dom, but it will not be usable surface, which will put him technically in 4th position, but 2nd place. Zoe Steinberg here getting up to the high point that we've seen thus far on this women's final. Feet cutting and still able to hold on to the wall. She made a pretty desperate move there, but she was obviously getting a little pumped, getting a little wild. Hopefully that'll be enough to get her tied for first. Usable movement, or positive movement. I'm not sure if the last climber got usable surface, but we will check that in our scores. Mia Alfonso sitting in 1st place, Julia Shape in 2nd, Mimi Nissan in 3rd, Jennifer Lenahan in 4th. And we'll see them update eventually as scores get entered, which you can follow if you'd like on USA Climbing if you don't want to wait for us to post them. usaclimbing.org, you can find those results on there, and they are live as they enter them in, so you can follow all of the action from your home computer. If you guys have any questions or comments, reach out to us on Twitter. At USA Climbing is the handle. I'll do my best to answer questions for you. Coming up next on the men's route, eyeballing it there, we've got Sam Hoffaker from Front Range Community College out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And I'm sussing out all the beta with his good hair. trying to remind himself how the climb goes so that way he doesn't have to stop and think about where he's going. May or may not help him as he's climbing. Again, there isn't really a time limit, so he's not wasting time by doing that. On the left-hand side, just getting started, we've got Marley Montella from Dartmouth College. Marley is also a native of Reno, Nevada, climbed on the Sierra climbing team when she was a youth, so I know her well. Marley didn't actually start climbing until about the middle of the youth circuit. She didn't start as a youth D, so the fact that she's doing so well in collegiates right now is a testament to her passion for climbing. She puts a lot of effort into it. Sam Hofecker there just before that step through, stepping on the slippery side of those Wacos. It's always a risk to do that. They are dual textured, not even good enough to use as a hand oftentimes, so stepping on it is risking a foot slip. You can see Marley Montella on the left looking calm and collected. She's going to take that section to shake out. Sam Hofecker came into this finals round tied for 9th place with our next climber, Mercati Sanders. So he's definitely a contender here. We're looking at the top 10 competitors of the men's contingent right now. A lot of these strong competitors. We should be able to see, hopefully, a lot of these competitors move past this high point that we're seeing. Although commentators curse, Sam is off the wall. Marley Montella, she is our 13th qualifier in the women's field here. Getting that knee bar to make the clip. And unfortunately unable to make that shoulder move. Marley is down. These competitors will untie and get our next competitors tied in. Samantha Scherenberg from Stanford University will be up next, and Mercati Sanders on the men's route. Here it looks like we've got Zoe Steinberg in first place. She was able to get just ahead of Mia Alfonso. A lot of times that just comes down to the difference between movement and usable surface. And then Gentry Cole, and Jeremy DeBear in second, tied with Nathan Withy and Thomas Pitzel. So here we're looking at Samantha Scherenberg of Stanford University. And then Mercati Sanders of Chemiqueta Community College. Chemiqueta. Mercati Sanders taking his time to move through these sections. Again, sometimes just moving slow and controlled is the best way about it. So we are in the top 10 qualifiers of this final round for the men and getting close to it for the women. As they fall, they're tying in new competitors, so the women are just slightly behind in the run for this one. Top 10 for men. We're going to see some strong climbers coming out. Like I said, these climbers are competing for an opportunity to go to the World University Championships in Slovakia. It only happens every other year, so they are definitely vying for a spot. The USAC is hoping the top 5 of each gender, of each discipline, make their way to Slovakia to compete. It'll be the second time the USA has been able to send competitors to one of these university international competitions. And if I'm not mistaken, this is only the 8th year, potentially, that we've had these collegiate sports. And like I said, you know, and like we spoke with Cody Grosky about, just in the last couple years, we've watched it blow up from just a fun college club sport team to a pretty serious competition where these competitors coming up from youth want to continue competing year-round. And for some schools have potential to get scholarships, have potential to make their way through the collegiate circuit, and also keep training and competing for the experience for the open competitions, you know. And as the 2020 Olympics loom down on us, and that is a 3-discipline format as well, these collegiate games really are more of a test for these competitors coming up to the 2020 Olympics. Here we're seeing Mercati Sanders reach the bottleneck that we've seen thus far. He's got to try and get that clip and get usable surface in order to vie for the first place position here. Usable surface and off, that's going to put him in a tie for second place. A 4-way tie for second place is what we're looking at so far in the men's category. It's not ideal for the route setters, but again, it's really hard, especially for these collegiate climbers, to know how strong the field is. Not all of these climbers are known, and you got some dark horses, and you've also got some unknowns, so it's hard to plan for that. Here we've got Samantha Scherenberg, Stanford University, trying to get high point on the women's. I believe that's going to do it for her, put her in first place. And she's still going. As Cody Gratsky, the route setter we spoke to earlier, said, as we reach the top of this lineup of girls, she even has time to wave to the crowd. We're going to see a lot of these competitors cruise past this section and ideally see at least one female get to the top. Able to find a spot to shake out here. Samantha Scherenberg from Stanford University. Again, Stanford is one of those teams that we want to be watching this season because they got third last season and they don't want to get third again. They've been training real hard. Got another clip from Samantha. Very satisfying Rose Cross move there. She had a second to kind of smile in between grimacing and get some positive movement off of that. Excellent job by Samantha Scherenberg of Stanford University. Up next on the women's side, we'll have Lily Canavan tying in just a second from University of Vermont. Here we're looking at Wukun Song of University of Texas. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. He also competed in the speed portion of this competition early on this morning. One of the competitors who did very well in speed as well. And, you know, as we talk about the Olympics, as we go through collegiate and we're looking at all-around competitors, I believe we can only send 24 competitors from each country. Or no, there's I'll have to check the exact number, but we only get to send a handful of competitors. And so when you're looking at the most overall competitor, the best overall competitor, to go to the Olympics to represent the United States, you want somebody who can dominate in speed, sport, and bouldering. And as we're seeing here at the Collegiate Nationals in Texas, there's a contingent of competitors who might fit that bill. So Woo Kun Sung ended up 19th today, tied for 19th in speed. He's looking very strong, and KT taped up, ready for battle in this sport climbing competition. Looking a little tired getting up to these cruxy moves up here, but he did qualify in 7th, proving that he has the stuff. If he can gain usable surface here, he's in a good position for podium thus far. Oh, that may be enough to put him in the running, but it won't be enough to get first place, as we have yet to see too many competitors make it past that section. This is our first look at Lily Canavan from University of Vermont. Moving with confidence through this section that shut so many girls down. Lily also coming out of the youth circuit, if I'm not mistaken. You can see the way that these youth competitors move with confidence throughout a lot of these difficult and cryptic moves. It's hard to see from this position, but that yellow hold underneath, it's what they would like to go to because it's a little bit closer, but it's at a bad angle, and as you can see right there, it's a 2, maybe 3 finger pocket that they've got to hold into. So being able to launch up to that thing and jam your fingers into the pocket and hold onto it at that angle would be a little tough, so they're opting for the further hold around the other side of that volume. This is where we saw that fantastic Rose move not too long ago from Samantha Scherenberg, Stanford University climber. And Lily Canavan looking calm and collected as she moves through that. We've got a new high point, new first place from Lily Canavan here out of University of Vermont. And she is still moving. Oh, a little heel slip there is going to do it for Lily Canavan, but that's going to put her in first place, sitting comfortable as we near the end of the lineup here. She is the 11th qualifier, meaning that there are only 10 more girls ahead of her. Here we've got Joey Katama. Joey had a fantastic run in speed early on today. He was one of the 8 men who qualified through multiple disciplines for finals. Fantastic competitor. He's competed in open competitions as well as through many of the Southern California competitions. Joey obviously here qualifying in 7th place for this final competition. Very well-rounded climber. He does great in bouldering, sport, and speed. Got a lot of competitors from the qualifying round, a lot of locals sitting down in the audience, cheering Joey on. Finding those good straight arm rests Still looking strong. Hopefully he can suss this section out. Give us a good high point. A very thoughtful climber. You can see him working through all of the different ways that he can move through these. Doesn't look like he's too stressed out yet. Joey able to get his foot back on, gain usable surface. That might be enough to put him tied for first place. We'll see. He was able to gain the clip and get usable surface on that sloper. It's about as high as we've seen any of the gentlemen get in this round, this finals round. And over here on the left, another Southern California native, Sarah Pierce, climbs out of Los Angeles. She is part of the Bronco Ascenders. I've been fortunate enough to see Sarah train and climb over the year I spent in Los Angeles, and she is a very dedicated climber. She oftentimes trains by herself, but she has a notepad, and she's very calculated and dedicated in the way that she goes about her training format and her training program. She has competed internationally at the India World Cup, and is definitely very passionate about climbing, so it's no surprise that she ended up here in the top 10 of the females at this this final round. Up next for the men, we're going to see Martin Cannell of Colorado School of Mines get tied in. Here we've got a look at the women's final round scores. They may still be getting updated. We've got Lily Canavan in first, so this should be updated. Samantha Scherenberg in second, with Zoe Steinberg in third, Mia Alfonso in fourth. And down the list, for men, Gentry Cole still holding strong in first place. He's got that high point. Mercati Sanders in second, although we may see Joey Katama join Gentry Cole there in the first place rank with that clip and high point. So it's yet to be decided or scored in, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. Sarah also competes in bouldering competition. She's a very strong climber, so I wouldn't be surprised to see her move with confidence through these strong bouldery moves in this overhanging section. Sarah keeping the body tension with a toe. Really trying to maintain tension and pull back up. Oh, and that's going to be it for Sarah Pierce. Fantastic job by Sarah. Up next for the women will be Siobhan Duffy out of University of Washington. She's going to get tied in, but there we get our first look at Martin Cannell. He also competed in speed early on today. Martin Cannell out of the Colorado School of Mines, repping a Czech Republic shirt. I like it. Martin Cannell's looking calm and collected as he cruises up through this section. So far, nothing seems to have given him too much of an issue. Martin's reaching the bottleneck spot that we've seen thus far. He obviously has proved his worth in the red point round, the qualifying round. Able to comfortably grab that usable surface hold, putting him in first. We're going to see if he can move past this section. That is a high point, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen our first climber be able to make it through that zone, and hopefully many more to come. This is uncharted territory for all of us viewers. We'll see how Martin's able to make his way through these moves. Looking strong. Nothing is stopping this man right now. Man, looking a little tired, but still pushing through. That's going to be movement, and hopefully, I didn't see if he was able to get usable surface on that. But that was a fantastic run by Martin Connell of the Colorado School of Mines. Over on the left-hand side, getting started here on the women's route, we've got Siobhan Duffy from the University of Washington. She's got a very determined face. Seems very concentrated. Siobhan tied for 6th with 4 other ladies here. She is our 9th climber, so we're starting to wind down the women's. We're in the top 10 here. She tied for 6th along with Marissa Romero, Grace McKeon, and Bimini Horseman. So these 4 ladies are all tied for 6th. We'll see how they shake out as we go along. As you can see here in the women's final round, again, Lily Canavan, Samantha Scherenberg, and Zoe Steinberg are going to be your top 3 podium ladies as we head into the top 10 qualifying round for women. So here we've got Gentry Cole listed in first. Again, we're still updating scores as they come in. But, you know, the judges have to enter it in, so we'll see that updated soon. The competitors' scores are based in a sequential manner where each hold is given a specific score number, and then you get decimal places based on on movement, usable surface, and clips. So a lot of times it comes down to whether they just made a clip before they fell, and if somebody else tried to move, fell, and didn't make their clip. This is kind of the second crux that we've seen in this women's route. And here we've got Siobhan Duffy trying to suss out again. You can't see it. There's a hold around the left side of that volume there. The one that you see underneath would be a little desperate and challenging to go to from this position. So she's got to go a little bit further than she'd like. She's going to touch that hold again. Smart climbers trying to figure out if that's pointed. Sweet and sour. Unfortunately, she was off before she would have liked. That will put her in the upper echelons, but maybe not enough for the top 5. Over on the right here in the fantastic shorts, we've got Alex Waterhouse. Another regular name on these live streams and in these competitions throughout Youth Open and Collegiate circuit. Alex Waterhouse is out of Dartmouth College. He qualified in 5th for this event. Is finding a very casual drop knee here as he chalks up and susses out the rest of the route. Again, any rest they can find is worth it because this is not a timed route. They don't need to work their way through this route at any sort of speed. If they find something like this where they can gain back a little bit of effort or look ahead, try and gain any benefit over their other competitors, it's definitely worth it for them to take the time. You can see it in the experience of these more experienced climbers. They've been climbing for a long time. They know these holds. They know what the route setters are trying to do. They know to find those rests. Alex Alex also trying different beta on that move and finding the one that works best for him. He's obviously a very smart, calculating climber, and it shows in qualifying for 5th for this final round. Alex getting up to that crux point. We're going to see, so far we've only seen one competitor make it past the usable surface on that sloper off to the right. And that was our last competitor, Martin Cannell, who dominated and made it even further. So Alex is going to have to turn up the heat on this one here. Hopefully show us that, that he can cruise past this section. Looking strong, though. Doing it in a static method, that looked really great. Good job from Alex Waterhouse. We've seen another competitor make it past the potential bottleneck that we were seeing there. Not the most comfortable clipping position, but he seemed to make it work. Got a lot of people down in the crowd cheering for Alex Waterhouse here. He's got some teammates from Dartmouth College sitting down there, along with other fans. That'll be movement, maybe not usable surface. He did not seem happy about that, but again, they've been in isolation. He doesn't know how everybody else has been doing, and that's going to get him 2nd place thus far as we round out the men's final here. On the women's route here, just gaining the head wall, we've got Marissa Romero. She is, again, tied with 4 other ladies for the 6th place coming into this. We do have 8 competitors left, her and 7 other women over on the ladies' side. You can see as we move through these competitors, get into the upper echelons, that we're getting some stronger and more experienced ladies, though this section does seem to give them a little bit of trouble. She's able to campus through that section. Bump her hand out, give her some advantage. We still have seen no tops on either of these climbs, and again, in theory, there should be only one making it to the top, so hopefully if it works out, we'll see some tops this evening. Oh, Marissa Romero going for the pocket. You can see why I said earlier that it was going to be much more strenuous than going further. She had to flip that arm all the way around into like a backwards overhead Gaston, put a lot of weight on that shoulder, and now she's a little out of position but able to move out of it. Fantastic work by Marissa Romero from University of Texas, Dallas. Marissa Romero looking really strong right now. She's able to kind of readjust. She's down climbing a bit to save some energy. Competitors are allowed to down climb. She had to switch that hand in order to get into the proper sequence. Looking really comfortable right now, taking time to smile down at the crowd. There's a lot of people cheering for her, and she does not look too tired just yet. Marissa not able to grab onto that hold. She did get usable surface. We saw a competitor earlier use a high heel hook that ultimately slipped and was the end, but that looks like it's most likely going to be a 2nd or 3rd place position as of now for Marissa. We'll see as the scores get entered in. Over here on the right, we've got semi-updated scores with Martin Cannell in 1st place, Gentry Cole in 2nd. We're still waiting to see how Alex Waterhouse did as that score gets entered in. There it is, putting Alex Waterhouse in 2nd place. And in 1st place for the ladies, Lily Canavan, Samantha Scherenberg in 2nd, and Zoe Steinberg in 3rd, although we're waiting for updates from some of the other lady competitors. Right now on the wall, we have Remy Arata from Metropolitan State University. a fairly tall and lanky competitor. It's interesting to see how these competitors move through all of these moves differently. Obviously, in a perfect world, height wouldn't be an issue and everything would be perfectly the same, but that's not the world we live in, and so oftentimes a high foot will shut down a tall guy, make it more powerful. A low foot will make something reachier for a smaller competitor. It's just something that these competitors learn to deal with, but as they gain experience and strength, they tend to adapt and know what they can do, and honestly, it's in a way, if the route setting is good and it caters to both short and tall competitors, hopefully in the long run it shakes out for everybody. Remy Arata, Metropolitan State University, getting up to the position that shut down so many men throughout this final round in the sport climbing finals of the 2018 Collegiate National Championships here at Momentum Climbing Gym in Katy, Texas. Remy able to handily get that clip and looking comfortable going out. We saw so many competent competitors shut down by these moves. It's cool to see how calm and composed Remy is. He's unknown to me, but obviously if you're from his region, you may have a better idea of who Remy is. That's the fun part about this is, as youth competitors age up, they sometimes move to different schools, different regions, and then there's just some that are unknowns to you. I don't know Remy, and as these collegiate climbing competitions become more famous, I'm sure his name is going to move up through the ranks because he's one of those all-around climbers we're seeing now who's making headway. That may be a high point for us, potentially putting him in first place. This is definitely a high point. I just got word he is an old Boulder Rock Club guy. So if you were a climber at the Boulder Rock Club, you may know Remy. He is killing it right now. We have potential to see a top, ladies and gentlemen. Taking time to chalk up. The inside of those Wacos are not great. If you've ever touched that hold, you know that some hate it, some love it. And that is a top with a clip from Remy Arata. The crowd is going crazy. You can hear them through my microphone, I'm sure. Fantastic job by Remy Arata. He looks exhausted. Gives a happy little fist pump there. And greeted by the fans down on the floor. Though in theory, like I said, the strongest climber comes into finals in first place. When it comes to the top 10, there's really no saying who's going to do better than other people. On the women's climb here, we've got Grace McKeon. She's also coming into this tied for 6th. She's from Southern Methodist University and competed in speed early on today. And one thing I can say is, though, these competitors do have potential to climb in all of these competition or all of these disciplines and have the potential to make it to finals. It does affect how you're going to compete. I'm sure these competitors who made it into speed earlier today ran 2 speed routes. They have potential to be a little bit more tired, but that's also what we're going to be looking at moving into the Olympics in 2020. So these are the kind of competitors that we're looking for to represent the United States. Grace also showing her strength there, doing the shoulder wrenching Gaston into that tiny 3-finger pocket. Grace is a Texas local. I'm sure the people here in Texas know her well. She is going to have to do what the last competitor did and backtrack and flip those hands around in order to be in sequence. You can see her kind of taking the time to rest and suss out the rest of the route. We haven't seen a top yet on this female final route, but Grace McKeon could be the first one. We do have 7 girls after this, 7 young ladies who are still trying to compete for the top spots here. Top 5's ideal, top 3's great, but everybody wants number 1, so we'll see who comes out on top here in the end. Grace looking calm and collected, able to execute that rose move without too much effort. As I say that, sitting here in the commentating box, expending little to no effort. She made that move look a lot easier. The last 2 girls we saw make that definitely struggled. She had a chance on the next hold, but gained usable surface at least. We'll see how that shakes out in the long run for her. Making his way up the men's route over here, we have Nicholas Karolidis from an unnamed school wearing a Mesa Rim jersey out of San Diego, California. Again, you don't need to be affiliated with a specific university or college. You just need to be a college student to compete in this. So if you guys are interested in competing next year, next season, please go over to usaclimbing.org, click on Collegiate. There's a lot of info there on how to get signed up and registered for yourself, how to begin a climbing team, how to find funding, how to fundraise, how to go through all of the steps that build the team. They really are looking at the Collegiate series as being the next leg of USA Climbing that they're trying to build. So they're offering a whole lot of information and opportunities to help you guys start teams in your school. So if you guys are interested, definitely check that out, usaclimbing.org. As we slowly start to wrap up here, do keep in mind that the next portion of this competition is happening at Momentum Silver Street, which is in downtown Houston tonight. If you guys are watching at home, it's at 8 p.m. Central Time. So make sure to tune into that. It is going to be on USA Climbing's YouTube page as well as on their homepage. Go to usaclimbing.org and click Watch Live. There's all the links to all of the competitions there, all of our live streams, so that you'll be able to follow along. I'm sure that tonight's event is going to be fantastic. They've been working really hard this week on making sure that it is up to snuff as the final event. Nicholas Karolidis looking a little tired right here, having trouble keeping his feet on. And taking a dive where we've seen many men just getting her start over on the ladies' final sport climb over there from Davidson College is Bimini Horstman. Bimini also competed in speed climbing today. She's one of the many climbers who did 6 women to compete in multiple disciplines. Remy Arata's sitting there comfortably in first, although we do know that we have a top, so we'll see those scores updated soon. Martin Cunell in second with these unofficial, unupdated scores. Oh, I'm sorry, Remy was the top, that's true. My apologies. Those are updated scores. Remy, and then Alex Waterhouse in third. Grace McKeon sitting in first, tied with Lily Canavan and Marissa Romero in third. Though we did just see Grace McKeon. We saw Grace McKeon make it to the top. We're seeing Bimini Horstman. Sorry. Little commentator brain farts here. Final stretch. Starting to lose my my brain powers. Next up for the men getting tied in, we're going to see Solomon Barth from Stanford University. Again, Stanford being one of those schools that's really vying for one of the top 3 positions. They were third last year, in second with Colorado State, and in first with Utah. So we're going to kind of see Stanford hopefully try and step up along with University of Utah, vying to hold their spot as first place overall team. As I said before, they are introducing a new format this year for scoring. It is an individual discipline team championship. On the individual discipline team championship, they're taking the top 3 scores from team members for each discipline adding those up, and that will decide the team discipline award. So there will be an overall bouldering winner, an overall team sport winner, an overall team speed winner, as well as an overall winning team. Also, one thing I haven't mentioned really is as we go through these competitors, we've got 26 women and 25 men on these finals routes. And as the chalk gets caked on, the hand oils and sweats and skin kind of get ground in there. These climbers don't have an opportunity to brush these upper holds like competitors may have in bouldering competitions. And so as you kind of get into these upper holds where the heat is rising and maybe some humidity and some skin and oil, these holds slowly get worse and worse for the competitors. So while it is an advantage to make sure that you made it in the final round, sometimes it's an advantage to kind of go out a little bit earlier. But going into finals in first place definitely gives you a good feeling. We're watching Bimini Horseman here cruising up through these upper moves handily, looking a little stressed, but hopefully not too tired to make it through this section. She is coming into this spot tied for 6th along with those 4 other ladies. So she's definitely got the stuff to make it through this section. At this point, it definitely comes down to pump, comes down to being able to maintain. As we zoom out, we can see Solomon Barth over there on the right side. Solomon's a Stanford climber. Looking pretty comfortable. Bimini Horstman is down from Davidson College. Solomon Barth coming into this qualifier tied for 1st. I love it when climbers take time on a really crappy hold to pump up the crowd. Really taking time. He wants the top of this. He's not looking super tired yet, but he's definitely taking the time to shake out, chalk up. Solomon Barth is eyeballing the top of this climb, really trying to figure out how to get there. It seemed to work out for him with the beta to drop down to that lower pocket and bump his hand in, getting him a little bit closer to that hold. It's something that we didn't see a lot of people trying. Solomon Barth being a regular name in all of these competitions, from youth all the way up to collegiate to open. He's a very well-seasoned climber, and it definitely shows in his climbing ability right now. Using those drop knees to keep his hips in tight, take some of the strain off his hand. Really smart sport climber, taking time to find those rests and knowing that even though he has to be on the climb longer, getting back anything he can is really going to help him out later when he needs that extra strength. He could be rushing to the finish right now knowing that he's running out of energy, but that doesn't necessarily serve you all the time. This is definitely a high point. Other than the top that we've seen, able to reel that one in. Solomon Barth really eyeballing the top of this climb. You can tell he's getting a little bit tired now. His arms are starting to wing out a little bit. But he's still finding time to shake. Again, anything he can gain back. He's only got 2 more moves and he knows it, so he's trying everything he can to just get a little bit of strength back. Make sure he's chalked up and ready for those last couple moves. And that's going to do it for Solomon Barth. But it is good enough to see him in second place. We only have one more male competitor left to take that spot from him or out from under Remy Arata. And that's going to be Jesse Grouper getting tied in here in just a moment. Here on the left side, we have Hannah Tolson from Gonzaga University. Here we're getting a look at the men's final round scores as well. Remy Arata still sitting in first. Martin Kuhnel and Alex Waterhouse. Grace McKeon holding strong in first place. Lily Canavan in second. Marissa Romero in third. We still have yet to see where Bimini Horseman falls into that. She will be in the top 5 somewhere, making it all the way up through those rose moves, falling shortly after. We do have one more male competitor, Jesse Grouper from Tufts University, getting tied in. He also was in speed climbing this morning along with Solomon Barth. There were a lot of competitors who were doing multiple disciplines. We'll see how that affects them if any of them made it to bouldering later on today. Haven't seen the running order for it just yet. But I have no doubt that a lot of these strong, well-rounded competitors who compete in bouldering, sport, and speed throughout the year have made it to multiple disciplines, including bouldering. We may see them tonight again, 8 p.m. Central Time at Momentum Indoor Climbing Center in Houston, Texas, their Silver Street location. And here we have Hannah Tolson from Gonzaga University, getting her very determined face on. She's looking very strong and determined right now. That's definitely been one of the deciding moves amongst the top 5 female competitors this evening, is whether you can grab that hold and move on or whether that is going to be the one to stop you. Here on the right side, Tufts University, the last male competitor for this evening, Jesse Grouper. Jesse's another well-seasoned climber. Lots of experience, lots of strength, lots of training, lots of knowledge in the upper echelon here with these competitors, and we'll see what Jesse Grouper does. He is coming into this final round tied with Solomon Barth in first. We did see Solomon fall a little prematurely, and Remy Arata, who came into it in tied for third, able to finish. So anything could happen here. Honestly, Jesse has everything that is necessary to make it to the top of this climb. It's just whether he executes correctly and makes the proper decisions. Now remember, this spot for a lot of competitors gave some people definitely a little bit of trouble. There's a couple different ways to do it, some easier than others, but with these competitors who've been doing this for a long time, we're seeing them handily make it through this section. I love watching these competitors have to deal with the dual textured holds, though, because it's definitely a challenge not being able to just place your foot on that black hold. Ooh. That could have been it for Jesse Grouper. Bumping the carabiner like that could definitely have stopped him. Thankfully, he was able to recover. We'll see how he does through this section that gave so many of our early competitors a lot of trouble. Again, shouts out to the route setters for a fantastic competition. Though we still haven't seen the top on women's, we did see one top on men's, and when it comes down to it, that's what we want to see, is see somebody get to the top, see separation throughout the rest of the field. And we still have 4 more females to climb over on the finals route over there, so we still have potential for a top on that side. Jesse Gruber's not looking as calm and collected as Solomon Barth when he reached this section, but again, there's a reason he's coming in qualifying in first place. He's trying to muster everything that he can to get to the top of this climb. Again, for any smart competitor, rest is such a huge factor. These guys are able to get a lot of strength back, a lot of endurance back, just by taking these moments to shake off and rest. It's definitely a learned technique. Your body has to adapt to it. You've got to learn the proper ways and times in which to take a rest, but when you can execute it properly, it could be the difference between first and second place, between any podium. Could just be the amount of time taken to rest, the amount of effort spent on proper technique. All of that factors into getting to the top of this climb. Jesse not looking too tired, able to take time to blow off his fingertips before he continued on here. Looking slightly more composed than Solomon Barth. We might see another top at this section. He's got the clip in the right position. Solomon was a little crossed up here. Let's see it. Jesse making sure he's not going to slip off that last hold. And he's able to do it. That's the second top on the men's final. Jesse Gruber coming into this qualifier in first place. If I'm not mistaken, that's going to put him in first place overall for the Collegiate Sport Finals. That is it for the men. We've got 4 more women. Over on the left side, Michaela Tugis from SUNY Adirondack. Some stylish braids going on. Also having to do a little bit of a flip around there, readjust to get in the proper position for the top of this, but not looking too tired thus far. Though these next couple moves have been giving the top competitors a little bit of trouble. Oh! Again, those dual text pockets can be trouble. She took her eye off the ball for just a moment. She hit the dual text section, slipped right past the pocket, and that will do it for Michaela Tugis. She didn't even look that tired. She probably had a couple more moves in her at a minimum, and unfortunately, that momentary lapse of concentration was all it took for her to miss that pocket. Still waiting for a full update here with the men's final round scores. The round is over. We did see our final competitor, Jesse Gruber, be able to top that, along with who's the climber listed in first place there, Remy Arata. Jesse did come in first place, and Remy came in tied for third, so I believe that's going to put Jesse on top. Grace McKeon still tied with Lily Canavan with 3 more females to go climbing this route. We'll see if any of them can unseat Grace and Lily.
All right, we've got 3 more ladies to go. 3 more super strong women coming out right now. North Carolina, Fairy Sky.
The scores on the website are updated, and we have a unofficial tie between Jesse and Remy. I believe with countbacks that'll be separated, but as it stands, they are tied for first with Solomon Barth in third, Martin Cunell in fourth, and Alex Waterhouse in fifth. Again, for any competitors looking to go to the World University Championships in Slovakia, top 5 is the magic number. Obviously, podium is nice for this competition, and first place is even sweeter, but top 5 is really what they're looking for if they want to go travel internationally for this competition that happens every other year, the International World University Climbing Competition. Here on the route, we have Carrie Scott from UNC. She is qualifying in third place. She's the third to last female competitor that we've got on here. Looks very determined, very calm and collected, moving comfortably through these lower moves. Very smart competitor, using all of her push feet to take a little bit of that extra strength off of her hands, save some of that for later. Again, there were 525 competitors qualifying here at this very special event in Katy, Texas yesterday. There were 94 teams represented from all across the United States. Coming up after Carrie Scott, we have Tori Perkins from Liberty University, and qualifying in first place, Katie Lamb from Stanford University. Taking a second here as Carrie makes her way up this route. Looking at the 2018 Collegiate National Championship team scores, just from the qualifying section and regional scores, looks like we have Stanford overall in first, University of Utah in second, and Dartmouth actually in third. Colorado State University, who was in second last year, is down in sixth. These scores don't mean a whole lot until it's all said and done, so we'll see what happens after this evening. But if you're paying attention to which school is going to win overall and which school is going to win each individual discipline, that's what's going on right now. Carrie Scott from UNC still looking really comfortable and calm. Almost smiling through these upper moves. Looks like she's looking forward to this Rose Cross move here. Every climber loves a good Rose Cross. Shaking out her hand, showing a little bit of wear there, but at the same time still pulling through really strong. We'll see how she navigates this section. We've seen a lot of climbers have trouble here. The high heel hook worked for some. This tension move worked for others, but a foot slip will do it for Carrie Scott from UNC, our third to last climber for this sport national event, Momentum Climbing Center in Katy, Texas. Again, shouts out to all the volunteers who help with this event. As anybody who's worked a climbing event knows, the volunteers are a huge portion, especially at these national events where it comes down to experienced belayers, experienced judges, and an experienced volunteer staff that's able to help the national rounds go smoothly and comfortably and have no hiccups. Jesse Grouper, there you got it. First place, Remy Arata second place, Solomon Barth in third, Martin Cannell and Alex Waterhouse in fifth. Gentry Cole just missing the fifth place mark by one. All of the gentlemen today had such a good showing. Winding down to the last two competitors here, last two females of this climbing competition from Liberty University. This is Tori Perkins. You'll see her tied in down there in the pink shirt, getting ready to climb. Taking time to remind herself of her beta. She is second to last one out, so she's been sitting back in isolation, trying to refresh her memory on what's ahead of her. Definitely tough with a lineup of, I believe, actually 26 girls, because we did have a tie in there. Definitely tough with a lineup of 26 girls ahead of you, coming out second to last or last. You've got to sit in isolation for quite some time. You have to time your warm-up. You have to, you know, stay fresh mentally and physically. You have to kind of remember the route. You're also dealing with not so favorable conditions on these climbs, while these holds do get caked on with chalk and hand oil, and it's, you know, getting hot as we're reaching the afternoon portion of this day. It is 1:36 p.m. here in Katy, Texas. So it has potential to get warmer as they climb up higher and as those holds get worse. Tori comfortably coasting through these early moves. Still a huge crowd down here. Everybody watching on bated breath at how Tori's doing, climbing up the wall. As we see her get higher up the wall, I'm sure we'll see the crowd get louder and louder. Tori statically cruising through this section that gave so many female competitors issue early on in the competition. That was a section that we were worried about would be a complete bottleneck and roadblock, but as you've seen with these experienced competitors, these competitors who have been climbing for a long time, have a little bit more strength, you know, they've been able to cruise through that section handily. We have seen some issue here from a couple of the females, including Sarah Pierce had some trouble. Again, these competitors take the time to shake out, but as we've seen on this hold specifically, a handful of the ladies have slipped off. So Tori's going to have to be careful here to be able to get back some energy and some strength, but also not to slip up. A foot slip could be the end of Tori's run here. Also, we know this move is really powerful after watching a lot of the other female competitors on this move, and the longer she sits there, the less power she's going to have. She's trying to gain some back. There we go. Tori's showing a little stress and fatigue. getting back in the proper position. She's looking good now. Depending on how tired she is, this move could give her some trouble. But she didn't come into this competition in second place for nothing. Wow. Oh my God. Tori able to execute a little piano match Houdini move to swap those hands out. She is still a little backwards, but that might be okay for her. We'll see what happens here. That is not the avenue I would have chosen to get through that move, nor any of the prior competitors who were on the wall that got to this spot. Tori able to make the move. I have no idea how she's doing this, and comfortably gaining the hold that so many ladies have had trouble with so far. Come on, Tori. And that is a high point for Tori Perkins. After all of that struggling on those earlier moves, that just proves that she deserves to be standing on that podium. And she will not stop there. Come on, Tori. Able to gain the next hold as well. She's getting really close to the top of this one. She's still looking calm and collected. Tori Perkins from Liberty University getting to the top of this climb right now. Getting near the top. Don't want to give her the commentator's curse just yet. Come on, Tori. Again, smart climber. She's only a couple holds away, but she knows that there's potential for those holds to be some of the more difficult moves, and she's taken time to gain back everything she can on what is not a fantastic hold. Those flat holds have a really fine-grained texture. Fantastic effort by Tori Perkins from Liberty University. She was able to move past multiple cruxes, multiple times of being out of sequence, and able to just execute. That was amazing. We only have one more climber left in the female final round here. It will be our last climber of this afternoon here at the 2018 Collegiate National Championships in this sport climbing round. Tori Perkins got movement on that last move. I don't know if she got usable surface. We have one climber left, Katie Lamb from Stanford University, the last one to challenge Tori Perkins for that spot in first place. As we can see here, Grace McKeon and Lily Canavan are currently holding first. We will see that change as these new scores get entered in. Just as a reminder, after this competition, we will be moving on to Momentum Indoor Climbing Center at the Silver Street location in Houston, Texas for the bouldering round, the last round of this 2018 Collegiate National Championships. That's going to be happening tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be the culmination. We're going to do awards afterwards. You can find the links to that on the USA Climbing website, usaclimbing.org, underneath the Watch Live section. If you just scroll down on that homepage there, it's got all the links, so you can watch it there or go over to USA Climbing's YouTube page. You can find the link there. Make sure to watch it tonight. The bouldering finals are sure to be a fantastic show. Katie Lamb running through her beta dance move right there, getting set to go. Again, Stanford is one of the teams that is set to podium this year. and for good reason. All these climbers are super strong. Stanford's been fostering their climbing team. They have a lot of competitors who are very, very experienced competitors throughout the youth circuit who've been placing, podiuming their entire life. Some of them probably just outside of diapers, honestly. Katie Lamb not wasting time. She's of the school of thought, obviously, that she wants to get through these lower, easier moves as quickly as possible, so long as you don't get a foot slip or some other catastrophic minor event to ruin your run. It could be a good mentality to have, just to cruise through these lower sections real quickly and get to the harder stuff before you get too tired. Although I have heard people say that they feel like they expend more energy and raise their heart rate too quickly when they move through those moves like that. So to each their own. We'll see how it fares for Katie Lamb here as we finish out this final round for sport climbing. A lot of ladies found that knee bar early on in the competition. I can't tell how well she was able to just shift both hands. That knee bar is obviously good enough to kind of take weight off of both hands. It's a good spot to find a rest, suss out the rest of the climb, plan for the future. Decide what's for dinner maybe in Katie Lamb's situation here. She's probably not too stressed on these lower moves. But as we've seen, this is kind of where the heat turns up. Another fantastic angle from our boys here at Louder Than 11. Always crushing it from time to time. And not from time to time like sometimes they don't, but time to time as in they always do. Katie Lamb even finding a little sneaky toe hook. Keep her hips in as she makes that clip. Again, the experience that these climbers have in moving up this wall never ceases to amaze me. She looks really comfortable right now. Not even taking time to swap the feet, just going to swing them over. Katie Lamb opting for that high heel hook. We've only seen that once before and it didn't fare well. Let's see. Seems that Katie can make it happen. Still doing fairly well, not taking quite as many breaks as we saw Tori Perkins do at this juncture in time. Again, sometimes that can be the difference, but with Katie's technique, Katie getting up a little high here and hasn't made this clip just yet. Though with Tori making it past, it wouldn't matter whether she did or not, so long as she can make the clip here on out. And she's got it. All right. Looking a little fatigued. Trying to find a high heel hook. I think that might actually put her 0.01 below. That puts her above, actually. Gaining control over the usable surface, despite Tori being able to clip that hold, is going to send Katie Lamb into that first place position. making her the 2018 Collegiate National Championship Sport Climbing Champion for the females. All right, so this is the men's final round. We are going to wrap it up here. Make sure that you guys tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. In first place for men, we've got Jesse Grouper. In second place, we've got Remy Arata. Third, Solomon Barth rounding out the podium. And in fourth, Martin Cannell. Fifth, Alex Waterhouse. And in sixth place, Gentry Cole. Over in the women's, we're going to see Katie Lamb sitting up there in number 1, which will make Tori Perkins number 2. Grayson Lilly tied for third. And then Bimini Horseman in fourth, tied with Marissa Romero. And in sixth place, Hannah Tolson. So we'll see those updated as we go along. And again, you guys, make sure to tune in. The Bouldering Championships tonight are going to be fantastic. That's 8 p.m. Central Time. You can find that on the YouTube channel or at the usaclimbing.org homepage. We will see you guys over there later on this evening. Thanks for watching. Adios.
I first started thinking about free soloing on cap in probably 2008, 2009, and then the first several years it was just this abstract dream, and each time I looked at the wall, it would fill me with fear. And then I had a couple of distinct experiences on El Cap where I was like, oh, I could actually imagine being up here ropeless. I had to sort of accept the dream, or sort of like embrace the vision of it before I could get into the nitty-gritty.
I can read
EP poured the first handhold in 1985. Here we are 30 years later. Chances are if you climbed inside, you've climbed on an EP hold.